Spiritual attacks on the mind are a subject that can evoke fear and confusion, but understanding what they entail and how they manifest can help individuals deal with them effectively. A spiritual attack is not merely a physical or psychological affliction. It is a force that seeks to disrupt the peace of the mind and spirit, often operating in subtle and covert ways. These attacks can come in many forms, often through negative thoughts, emotions, or situations that cause confusion, doubt, or fear. They seek to undermine a person's spiritual well-being by targeting their inner peace, leaving them in a state of unrest or distress. The human mind is a powerful entity. It can be a source of great clarity, wisdom, and peace, or it can be a battleground for dark forces that aim to sow chaos and discontent. A spiritual attack on the mind often begins subtly. Negative thoughts may enter your consciousness seemingly out of nowhere. These thoughts could be filled with doubt, fear, or hopelessness, and they have the potential to consume your mind. Often, these thoughts will be persistent, returning over and over again, convincing you that your situation is hopeless, that you are powerless, or that you are incapable of overcoming the challenges before you. What's particularly troubling about spiritual attacks is that they often prey on an individual's vulnerabilities. If someone is already struggling with a personal crisis, an illness, or feelings of inadequacy, a spiritual attack may intensify these emotions, exacerbating the pain. It's as if the attack is designed to kick a person when they are down. The constant barrage of negative thoughts can cloud judgment, making it difficult to discern what is true and what is a product of these attacks. Individuals who experience these spiritual assaults often feel isolated, trapped, or as though they are losing their sense of self. Sometimes, spiritual attacks may even manifest as a complete breakdown of peace of mind. For example, a person might begin to experience a deep sense of unease, anxiety, or even despair, seemingly without any external reason. This unease may grow into a persistent feeling of emptiness or disconnection from one's higher purpose or spiritual beliefs. For some, it feels like they are under siege, with their thoughts constantly attacked by forces they cannot see or control. The challenge here is that these attacks are often invisible. They are not tangible in the traditional sense. You cannot see them with your eyes, but you feel their effects in your mind and soul. It's a silent, insidious force that can grow stronger if not addressed. Spiritual attacks on the mind can also come in the form of spiritual manipulation. This may occur when someone intentionally or unintentionally uses emotional or psychological tactics to control, confuse, or destabilize another individual. Manipulation can distort your perception of reality, cloud your spiritual clarity, and hinder your ability to make sound decisions. These manipulative forces often work on your emotions, using fear, guilt, and shame to weaken your resolve and redirect your thoughts and actions away from your true self. It's important to recognize when such manipulations are happening, as they can erode your confidence and sense of self-worth. Another form of spiritual attack is that which arises from external negative influences or energies. These influences may come in the form of toxic environments, relationships, or situations that drain your energy and disrupt your peace of mind. The presence of negative people, environments that feel oppressive or hostile, or even an overexposure to negative media or news can influence your mind in harmful ways. These influences can create an atmosphere of constant stress or negativity, which chips away at your mental resilience. Over time, this environment can make it harder to maintain spiritual clarity and peace. To fight against a spiritual attack on the mind, it is important to recognize the signs early. The first step is awareness. When you begin to notice negative thoughts or emotions that you cannot attribute to any specific external factor, it may be a sign that a spiritual attack is at play. Once you acknowledge what is happening, you can take steps to protect your mind and spirit. This protection comes from establishing strong spiritual practices such as meditation, prayer, or mindfulness, which help create a shield against negativity. Engaging in regular practices that connect you to your inner self, whether through spiritual exercises or self-reflection, can help reinforce your mental and emotional boundaries, making it harder for these attacks to penetrate. In addition to spiritual practices, it is important to nurture your mind with positivity and love. Surrounding yourself with supportive, Loving people and engaging in uplifting activities can fortify your mental and emotional well-being. Maintaining a sense of gratitude, even in difficult times, can also help shift your perspective and lessen the power of negative thoughts and feelings. The more you cultivate positive energy, the less room there is for negative influences to take hold. Building resilience is key. This means having faith in your ability to overcome difficulties, as well as a deep belief that you are not alone in facing your challenges. There are also practical steps that can be taken to resist these attacks. These include taking time for self-care, managing stress effectively, and seeking help from trusted individuals, whether they are spiritual leaders, counselors, or close friends. It is essential to not isolate yourself when faced with a spiritual attack. Reach out for support when necessary. Additionally, using affirmations or positive mantras to counter negative thoughts can be a powerful tool in overcoming spiritual attacks. These practices serve as reminders of your inherent strength and resilience. In conclusion, spiritual attacks on the mind are real and can have significant effects on one's mental and emotional health. These attacks can come in many forms, from persistent negative thoughts to external influences that disrupt inner peace. However, with awareness, spiritual practices, and a supportive environment, it is possible to protect your mind and spirit from such attacks. Resilience, self-love, and faith are powerful weapons against spiritual assault. With the right tools and mindset, you can stand firm and regain control over your mental and spiritual well-being. A spiritual attack on your mind is a subtle, yet deeply affecting experience that can manifest in various ways, affecting your thoughts, emotions, and overall sense of peace. It is often invisible, operating on a level that can be difficult to understand, but its impact can be profound, leaving you confused, isolated, and vulnerable. These attacks can come in many forms, from overwhelming negative thoughts and doubts to a sense of spiritual emptiness or fear that seems unshakable. The mind becomes a battlefield, where unseen forces try to create confusion, despair, and discouragement. Spiritual attacks aim to undermine your confidence, diminish your sense of self-worth, and distract you from your higher purpose. One of the most common signs of such an attack is persistent feelings of anxiety, fear, or sadness that seem to come from nowhere, taking over your thoughts and leaving you helpless in the face of your own emotions. These feelings may not even seem to be connected to anything in your immediate life, yet they drain your mental and emotional energy. It can be as though you are trapped in a cycle of negativity, where no matter how much you try to break free, the darkness lingers, clouding your mind and spirit. Another hallmark of a spiritual attack is the presence of intrusive thoughts. Thoughts that you know are not your own, or ideas that you would never normally entertain. These thoughts might focus on self-doubt, guilt, or feelings of unworthiness. They distort your perception of reality, making you question your beliefs, your relationships, or even your identity. You may start feeling disconnected from your spiritual self, as if you no longer understand your own purpose or calling. This disconnection from your true nature is one of the main goals of a spiritual attack, to sever the link between you and your higher power, making you more susceptible to negative influences. At times, these attacks manifest as a feeling of spiritual dryness or distance from God, as if your prayers are unanswered and your faith is weak. This can create a profound sense of isolation, making you feel as though you are walking through life alone, abandoned by the divine. In such moments, it may feel as though every step you take is harder than the last, and there is no sense of peace or comfort in sight. Your mind becomes overwhelmed with doubt, and every effort to find solace feels fruitless. A spiritual attack can also prey on unresolved wounds from the past, bringing up old traumas and emotions you thought were long buried. These memories resurface in a distorted, exaggerated form, making it seem as though the past is still very much alive in the present. The attack manipulates your perception, making you feel that you have no hope of healing or moving forward. This emotional manipulation can feel like a constant barrage on your mind, leaving you tired and mentally exhausted, unable to find any reprieve. In these times of mental and spiritual distress, it can be easy to feel powerless. You might ask yourself why these things are happening, or why you are being made to suffer. But spiritual attacks, though difficult, can serve as a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. They challenge you to dig deeper into your inner strength, to fight for your peace, and to renew your connection to what truly sustains you. It is important to remember that these attacks, while painful, are not permanent. The mind, like any other part of you, can be healed and restored through practices that strengthen your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Taking time to nurture your mind through prayer, meditation, mindfulness, and positive affirmations can help regain balance and clarity. Surrounding yourself with supportive, positive influences and seeking guidance from trusted spiritual leaders or mentors can provide strength and encouragement. In the face of these attacks, it is essential to remember that your mind is not a battleground but a sacred space, one that deserves protection and care. Ultimately, overcoming a spiritual attack requires patience and perseverance. It is a process of reclaiming your thoughts and restoring your sense of inner peace, trusting that you have the ability to rise above any darkness that comes your way. Spiritual attacks are temporary, but your strength, resilience, and connection to the divine are eternal. In moments of challenge, remember that the light within you is always more powerful than any shadow that tries to cast itself over your mind. With time, faith, and self-care, you can overcome even the most intense spiritual assault and emerge stronger, wiser, and more connected to the true source of peace within you. A spiritual attack on the mind can be a deeply unsettling experience, often leaving individuals feeling overwhelmed, confused, and disconnected from their true sense of self. It is not always something that is visibly obvious to others, but it can have a profound effect on one's emotional, mental, and even physical state. These attacks can take various forms, and their impacts can be long-lasting if not addressed with proper care, guidance, and understanding. One of the most insidious aspects of a spiritual attack on the mind is how it distorts one's perception of reality. Negative thoughts and emotions can flood the mind, often leading to feelings of anxiety, fear, anger, or sadness. These feelings seem to appear from nowhere, overwhelming the person and leading them to question their own thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions. It can make them feel disconnected from their spiritual grounding, leading to a loss of faith or purpose. The mind, which is supposed to be a source of clarity and strength, becomes clouded with doubts and confusion. The person begins to wonder whether their struggles are purely psychological or if there is a deeper, unseen force at work. At the heart of this kind of spiritual attack is often a sense of spiritual isolation. When one feels disconnected from their inner peace or higher power, it can lead to a deep sense of loneliness. This isolation can exacerbate feelings of worthlessness or confusion. The mind, which was once a place of creativity, clarity, and purpose, becomes a battleground. These battles are often fought in silence, with the individual struggling to regain control of their thoughts and emotions, not realizing that the struggle they are facing is not just psychological but deeply spiritual. Another key feature of a spiritual attack on the mind is its ability to amplify the negative self-talk that exists within all of us. We all have an internal voice that shapes how we view ourselves and our lives, but in times of spiritual attack, that voice can become distorted. It whispers lies, telling the person they are not good enough, they are alone, they are unloved, or they are worthless. It is as if the mind is held hostage, and every thought that once felt true and empowering now feels like a heavy burden. This internal dialogue can create an overwhelming sense of self-doubt and confusion, making it difficult to see a way out. The energy of negativity during a spiritual attack can manifest physically as well. People under such attacks may experience fatigue, sleep disturbances, headaches, or unexplained body aches. These physical symptoms are often the result of the emotional and mental stress that is building up inside. The mind and body are not separate entities, and when the mind is under attack, the body follows suit. The constant strain can leave an individual feeling exhausted and drained, unsure of how to break free from the cycle of despair. The way to overcome a spiritual attack on the mind is through awareness, healing, and strength. First, it is essential to recognize the signs of spiritual distress. It may start with subtle feelings of doubt or unease, but over time, the pressure can become unbearable. By recognizing these signs early, individuals can take proactive steps to counteract the negative forces that are working against them. This may include prayer, meditation, mindfulness practices, or seeking guidance from spiritual leaders, therapists, or support groups. Healing during a spiritual attack is not an instant process. It requires patience and perseverance. Just as the mind has been influenced by negativity over time, it must also be nurtured back to a place of peace. Practicing mindfulness and focusing on positive affirmations can begin to shift the mental landscape. Surrounding oneself with supportive people who uplift and encourage is vital during this time. The power of community and shared belief cannot be underestimated in moments of spiritual struggle.